Good day, Music World, and welcome to the first Punk Fridays episode of the Music World according to the Finschise. Alright, we're going to start off today with probably one of the better punk albums, like real punk albums of my generation. It's Anti-Flag's For Blood and Empire CD. To be honest, over the years, like, I first was obsessed with this album, like, before I really noticed kind of how cliche these guys are, and, like, I don't know, like, but to me, this is probably one of the better punk albums of my generation. Like, looking at these guys, like, I don't know, between, like, the mohawks and all the tattoos, it's a little cliched for me, but, as far as I'm concerned, this is probably one of the best punk albums of my generation. Like, there are some classic tunes on here, you know, the Press Corps, as far as I'm concerned, is a punk classic, and This Is the End for You, My Friend is a great tune, I Tell You But is great. There are a lot of great stuff on it. There's a lot of good stuff on here. Exodus is really good. $1 Trillion, you know, there's a lot of really different kind of punk music, and as far as I'm concerned, as far as, like, rebellious attitudes, you know, there is no better than For Blood and Empire. You know, this album produced a punk attitude that hadn't really been seen in a while, like a really, like, straight-up, legit, rebellious attitude, you know. You don't see that too much anymore, but this album here presented it to us in a very good way. Now, I'll be honest, I've never really gotten into a lot of other Anti-Flag albums. You know, I like a couple of their other songs throughout their discography, but as far as the albums go, I'd say that this is their best album, and I would recommend it. Alrighty, we're going to jump right into my showdown for today, and it's two classic albums by Sublime, the band that pioneered this punk and reggae and ska genre, you know, mixture.
Oh, I take that walk, and I know that I'm not coming back.
Alright, so we're going to talk about, first up, their debut album, their 40 Ounce to Freedom album. I like this album. I like it. You know, there's some great songs on here. As far as I'm concerned, Scarlet Begonias, their Grateful Dead cover, is probably one of the best Grateful Dead covers I've ever heard in my life, and it's one of my favorite Sublime songs. And there's some other good songs on there as well, but to me, throughout, it seems like they were a little unsure about what they were doing. You know, they were trying to feel out this punk and reggae combination, and at times it works, and at times it's just a little weird, you know, it's not very memorable, but, you know, there are some other good songs on there. You know, Boss DJ is on there, and Date Rape is on there. You know, there's a lot of really great Sublime songs, so it's good, I'm not gonna lie, it's good.
They never gave up. It ain't hard to understand. This ain't Hitler's master plan. What it takes to be a man. Ooh, in my mind.
Now for their self-titled album. Now this is really what I'm talking about here. Sublime's self-titled album not only is my favorite Sublime album, but it's easily one of my all-time top 10 favorite albums. And as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best albums of the 90s. When I said that on 40 Ounce of Freedom they were testing the waters with this ska and punk and rap and reggae kind of mixture creation on their 40 Ounce of Freedom album, on their self-titled Sublime album, they really hit the nail right on the head. You know, they made the perfect mixture of all of these genres and created this whole new one, and it was unbelievable. You know, there are some of the most iconic rock songs of the 90s on there, like What I Got and Santeria, and then there are some just classic Sublime songs like Caress Me Down and April 26, 1992. I hope I got that song right. I always get that song title incorrect. And then, you know, Same in the End is on there, Paddle Out, Seed. You know, I can go on and on and on for hours about how much I love this album. And, you know, not only is it a great kind of reggae, kind of chilled out record, it's a great punk record as well at times. So I would say that 40 Ounce of Freedom is a good album, and you'd like it, but I'd say that Sublime's self-titled album is probably one of the most enjoyable rock albums of the 90s, you know. There's a lot more to love about that album, so I would say that that's the better album as far as that goes. Alright, so now we're going to talk about one of my other favorite punk bands of this generation. I'm talking about Against Me. Now, Against Me over the years has kind of become notorious for selling out blatantly and producing music that sounds completely different than they did when they first started making music. But their early material is brutally awesome, you know. I'm here today to talk about their As the Eternal Cowboy album. Now, this album has a lot of great stuff, you know. Cliché Guevara is fantastic. Sink Florida Sink has become one of their most well-known songs, you know. Then it's got a lot of great hidden gems in there, like TSR is awesome, and Rice and Bread, and Cavalier Eternal is timeless, you know. There's a lot of great stuff on there. So as far as I'm concerned, it might not be like, I'd say that some of their other stuff is a little easier on the ears, most notably their Reinventing Axl Rose album, but if you're in for a more punk album, I'd say that As the Eternal Cowboy might be one of their most rebellious albums. So there you have that.
There will always be a moon over my head.
We're going to wrap up today's episode with an album that I think has gone completely unnoticed by the punk music world, most notably the classic hardcore punk world. Now, I've never been much of a big hardcore punk fan besides the occasional Black Flag and Husker Du and all of them. You know, I don't have any problems with them, but as far as hardcore punk goes, you know, I don't think you're ever going to get any better than the Dead Kennedys. Now, they're for Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, not Give Me Liberty, Give Me Death. Alright, so we're going to end up today's episode with a classic hardcore punk album that I think has just gone completely unnoticed. Now, I've never been much of a hardcore punk fan. You know, I don't like a lot of it, I don't understand a lot of it, but I do enjoy, you know, Black Flag and Husker Du and some of those guys. As far as hardcore punk goes, I think my all-time favorite is the Dead Kennedys. Their Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death album and Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables albums have both been critically acclaimed as some of the most powerful punk albums ever made. You know, for Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables is one of the most critically acclaimed hardcore punk albums ever made, and Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death is more or less a singles collection from them, their most popular songs, but still it's a very powerful album. Now, it took me a while to get into Plastic Surgery Disasters, but over time, I've come to really, really appreciate this album. You know, it's got some classic Dead Kennedys tracks, you know. It's got Halloween, I Am the Owl, Well Played Scientist, you know, there's a lot of Government Flu. There's so many like classic Dead Kennedy songs on there. And it also comes, if you get it on CD, with that In God We Trust EP, which has actually some good stuff on there as well, that, you know, that it still gives me the chills listening to We've Got a Bigger Problem Now, that old kind of alternate version of California Uber Alles, which is just spine-tingling. And then, on top of all of this, you know, Dead Kennedys at the end of Plastic Surgery Disasters create this classic, like, not really hardcore, just a classic straight-up punk rock tune that is just awesome. Moon Over Marin, which is actually became one of my favorite Dead Kennedys songs. So I'd say that if you've listened to the other two, which I'm sure a lot of you have, give Plastic Surgery Disasters a try. You won't regret it. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to tune in for tomorrow with my classic rock episode of the week. be sure to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitter, and check out all my other videos, and leave me a comment or something. Alright? Take care.